Good evening, folks. It's Diamond with the Oppenheimer Ranch Project, Magnetic Reversal News, and Shinrin-yoku, bringing you a grand solar minimum update Wednesday, July 21st, 10 p.m. Mountain Time 2021. Take a look at the seismicity in Panama. 7 magnitude downgraded to 6.7 today. We'll get to that, but the big story, the Bootleg fire in Oregon is so large, it's creating its own weather. Keep calm. It's boom time. There she blows. Pyro, cumulo, nimbus clouds. Well, what else would you expect from a fearmonger nation in a fearmonger world? The Bootleg fire in Oregon is so large it's creating its own weather, which is not unusual for large fires. As hot, dry weather conditions continue to fuel wildfires across much of the U.S., the Bootleg fire in Oregon has become so intense it's creating its own clouds. The fire has scorched 606 square miles, an area larger than LA, but about half the size of Rhode Island. It grew to about 400,000 acres overnight into a week into Tuesday, with 30% contained, according to much data. Now, what you're looking at is pyrocumulus clouds. They're literally created by the fire. And now, not a lot of moisture is associated with these clouds, so they do create lightning, which could light more fires. It could also create some light rain, so there's that. And we're keeping calm because even though the smoke is all the way in New York City, this is not new. Every year we have 10,000 fires in North America or more, and different regions get covered in smoke. So there's that. Air quality alerts issued for upstate New York today due to western wildfires. Here's the smoke, and you can see the Four Corners region. The smoke moved away and is now, you're suffering, especially northern Wisconsin, northern Michigan. Take a look. That's some heavy smoke, which we were choking on just earlier in the week. Extreme weather fuels Oregon wildfires. Outside help is sought. There is no rain in sight for these regions, just limited spattering of some sprinkles. But in our region, it's another story. But let's talk about the U.S. Northern Plains on the cusp of crop failure. That's North Dakota, South Dakota, and, well, let's just take a listen. Shall we?
Drought in the U.S. Northern Plains is likely to have a severe impact on crops. The state of North Dakota in particular is in the midst of a severe drought. Weather has been largely dry for months. Crops like spring wheat, corn, and soybeans in the state and surrounding areas are in very poor shape. The U.S. spring wheat crop is rated only 11% good to excellent. A whopping 63% of that crop is rated poor to very poor, according to USDA's most recent crop progress report. The state's corn and soybean crops are not doing well either. Ratings are well below what we're seeing in other areas of the country. Traders will debate if better corn and soybean crops in the central and eastern corn belt can offset losses in the northern plains. In regard to spring wheat, which is grown only in the north, a crop failure appears imminent.
Holy macaroni. Yeah, so the crop failure is imminent on the spring wheat, and that's North South Dakota. Holy iota. And we haven't seen many positive, good years for this type of product in quite a few years. And once again, it is clear to see that they're using some type of manipulation of the statistics to make it less severe. Monsoon delivers so far across southwestern Colorado. The rains are a welcome sight after last year's dry summer, which many called the non-soon here. But the monsoon is actually dumping rain. We just had over a quarter of an inch in an hour the other day, and it's looking like 4 to 12 inches in my region over the next 2 weeks. Also, the same numbers throughout Arizona, New Mexico, and some high numbers in Utah. This is going to be flash floodings for weeks to come. But good news for the drought. Hello. We love a respite from the nonsense from the mainstream, don't we? Let's check out weather.gov. Flash flood threats for the southwest U.S. We just said that. An excessive rain and flash flood threat across southwestern U.S. will continue over the next several days, likely through the upcoming weekend. A classic summer monsoon pattern will be locked in place, featuring above normal moisture, 150% precipitated moisture in many regions. Expect scattering of organized areas of showers, thunderstorms that can produce intense rainfall amounts, short periods of time, and flooding, as well as hail. Holy macaroni. We're about to get wet in the desert. Good news. Holy macaroni. That's not the link I wanted to click on, but we will parse that up. Passengers trapped inside submerged subway as deadly floods sweep central China. Now, these schmucktards were actually just sitting there calmly with water up to their nipples, and no one knows why. But terrified subway passengers in central China were left clinging to ceiling handles inside a flooded car on Tuesday, trapped up to their necks in rising water, and no one knows why they stood there. Well, communist China might have something to do with it. More flooding. Rescue efforts launched after record floods in central China displaced 1.2 million people. Why he's riding a bike in knee-deep water is anyone's guess. That's China for you, and it's soon to be the U.S. At least 25 dead as torrential rain floods Chinese city, trapping commuters in chest-high water and train. That seems to be the talking point. Chest-high water and train. China blasts dam to divert massive flooding that has killed 25. Downstream from the people flooded in the subway, they blew up a dam to relieve pressure. And that's good news, but bad news for everyone who lives in that prefecture. Clearly. Holy shit. Now, let's get back to that. They're blaming this on climate change, but they moved the numbers back 60, 100 years, and they say it hasn't flooded like 60 or 100 years like this. Hello? Well, 60 or 100 years ago, there was not man-made global warming. So clearly anyone with critical thinking would say, what was going on back then that made the flooding happen? And that was solar minimum. As we come out of solar minimum and go up into the next cycle, this pattern happens time immemorial. Back in 2011, at the end of the last solar cycle, we had record flooding worldwide. Yet the media is so inept and incapable of actually giving you any facts that they will never refer to the information that will actually make sense to you. Australia braces for the coldest ever July temperatures, and it's your fault. Man-made global warming caused it to freeze in all of eastern Australia. Yes, breaking news. I just said it. Might as well say it because the mainstream media says the same BS in the opposite direction to tell you that it's flooding or it's hot or whatever the hell they want to steer their narrative towards. But the facts are that natural climate variability is provable, and it is the most rigid data set in the entire geologic record. Yeah, paleoclimatology is king. Ding, ding. Dubai makes its own rain to tackle 122 Fahrenheit heat. Drones blast clouds with electrical charges to produce downpours. This is called geoengineering, and we've been reporting on the fraud and the facts on geoengineering. Geoengineering Watch for the last 8 years has produced nothing but fraudulent information that has pumped to almost 500,000 people. Dane Wigington is the biggest schmuck on earth and should be tried in a court for crimes against humanity because he is simply profiting on fear-mongering and BS. But tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands watch him every day. And many of you have no idea what geoengineering is. In fact, many people who support the channel send me emails and say, well, if they can make rain in Dubai, how can't they make it rain in California? Well, if you read the article for 1 second, in just a few sentences, you will find out why. The rain is formed, and let's just go together here, using drone technology that gives clouds an electric shock to cajole them into clumping together and producing precipitation. So what you need in this formula, if you're listening, is clouds. So if you don't have any clouds forming in California, Oregon, or Washington, you can't cloud seed them and produce rain. So what you should all glean from this is that we cannot make clouds. We can make a cloud rain, but we cannot make clouds. No matter how much harp you turn on, everyone is an idiot. Strong quake hits offshore near Panama, No damage reported. None whatsoever from the 7 magnitude surface quake near Panama, which has been downgraded to 6.7 by the U.S. downgrade service. No tsunami warning or threat, but we should glean some information. 14 days ago, I said that this plate structure here in the Costa Rican region has become unsteady and slipped, and the region where these large quakes are happening now is that region exactly where the subduction zone is now moving, and we should expect large quakes coming from this area moving forward. And we've seen it. Today, we have a 5.3 in Nicaragua, and this is after the 7.0 downgraded 6.9, back down to downgraded 6.7 in Panama. Heads up in that region. No tsunami warning, advisory, watch, or threat. Good news. Now let's see what potentially kicked off that quake. And if we go look at telemetry from GOES X-ray flux 1 minute, in this loss of data where it drops straight down, that's when the quake occurred, right when the data came back up. And we'll go look at some more telemetry in the GOES magnetometer where the magnetometer drops off the chart and back up. Same time of the quake. And here we are where a complete data set is eliminated from Discover Solar Wind. And just as the data came online here with this big drop down and upswing, that is the strike of the quake. Hello. Correlation is not causation, but open your fucking eyes, folks. Deep earthquakes in Sagrados's Fall Mountain. Today, a few deep earthquakes took place in Sagrados's Fall after the volcanic uptick in this region for months has been acting jiggy. Lava has been coming out and then stopping and out and stopping, on and off. But the earthquake activity is not a big deal, as the largest magnitude recorded was just 0.8, most at depth, appearing to have been happening around 13, 14 kilometers. Now, it's difficult to know what this means. What it's possibly happening is that more magma is pushing up into the magma, feeding the now existing eruption. If that's happening, it can result in new craters, new fissures, larger eruptions opening up in the same region. So, we're going to keep a close eye on the Sagrados's Fall shield volcano forming in Iceland. Historic events worldwide. Worldwide Volcano News. Ducono, Liwotolo, Nevados, Tichilan, Sabancaya, Swanos, Himo, and more. We have White's Island puffing and passing today as well, where the flesh from many people were removed from their skin. This is not a laughing matter, folks. This is simply an uptick in what we're seeing. 2016 data points shifted downward in 2021. NASA caught adjusting the global temperature for the 783rd time in 4 decades. I won't even go into the fraud, but this readjustment of data has been happening regularly year after year for over 2 decades, where they push down another number to make the current number look, well, completely unprecedented. What we should glean is that, according to Roy Spencer, the global average tropospheric temperature, the upper atmosphere, is, well, colder than it has been for 30 years. Hello! ESA's solar orbiter encounters the tail of a fragmented comet Atlas. The long period C2019Y4 Atlas fragmented during its perihelion in April 2020. About 2 months later, ESA's solar orbiter observed the dusty tail of the fragmented comet. There was no ice and no evidence of an icy body, but no one has corrected the data yet. New methods predict stealth solar storms before they wreak geomagnetic havoc on Earth. And we need these new studies because geomagnetic havoc is coming soon to a planet near you. On 23rd July 2021, humanity escaped technological and economic disaster. Are you picking this up? Physics.org is about to report on the kill shot that we just talked about a few days ago. This is amazing. A diffuse cloud of magnetized plasma in the shape of a slinky toy 10,000 of kilometers across was hurled from the sun at speeds of 100 kilometers per second. Now, listen, let's just follow this. This CME just missed Earth. No, it didn't. It missed Earth by 1,000,000 miles, you fucking retards. It shot in the wrong direction. But because we're salacious and we want people to read this, We're going to lie to you. Now, what is the point of lying to the public when you could just give them facts on how to prepare for the inevitable, which they will never do? Well, moving on. It's just a dog and pony show, to be quite honest. Ancient sunken city discovered in Egypt, and we're talking about Thonis. Heraklion, the second largest city ever in Egypt, is underwater, and it's only a few thousand years old. So, if you don't think that there is potential for massive flooding, mud floods, uplift and down drop, well, Thonis Heraklion is underwater, folks. And it was supposed to be around just 2,100 years ago. Read the article, not a sharticle. Long period oscillations of the sun discovered, and they mean very little to anything that will keep us alive in the future. Just more nonsense to distract you. So who made these amazing ancient artifacts in the Denisovan cave in Russia? I wonder. Who made the artifacts in the Denisovan cave in Russia? Let's all think about that for a minute. Yes, probably Denisovans. Leading Russian scientists remain unshaken in the view that it was Denisovans, despite growing doubts from Western experts that think it was white people. These fucking schmucks. Now, 50,000 years ago, there were humans on Earth making amazing chlorite bracelets with pendants that were translucent that can barely be replicated today. Hey. Not only that, there is a sewing needle, which is still perfectly usable as a sewing needle and sharp. That's 50,000 years old, as well as a carving of potentially a cave lion in wood. Some other amazing ivory pendants, and even potentially a headdress from a mammoth tusk carved 45,000 years ago. Beads from ostrich and other things. Ding dings. We have been lied to. We did not learn how to farm 7,000 years ago because 50,000 years ago, there were chlorite translucent bracelets with pendants being worn by humans. So that seems like Tiffany and Company was around, about 43,000 years ago. 43,000 years before we learned to farm. Yeah, that makes sense. Hello. Beamcompost.com. Beamcompost.com. If you bought the beam from our link and you supported the channel and you don't know how to make the beam, well, then you didn't spend much time when you were at the site when you bought the beam, because it says click here to make the beam. And we're about to get those instructions in the beam for you, because many of you are inept and you can't literally figure out how to make the beam. But if you go to beamcompost.com, that's beamcompost.com, you can find out how to make the beam, how to make the solution. But it's not hard. You take 1 ounce of the beam from your package, put it in 5 gallons of water, swish it around, filter it out, and spray it on the soil. I don't think I have to say that twice. It's not a very difficult procedure. Not very difficult at all. 1 ounce of beam, put it in 5 gallons of water, swish it around, filter it out, put it in your sprayer. Hit the soil. Done deal. Matt Powers. ThePermacultureStudent.com. Soil Secrets with Matt Powers, the most amazing regenerative soil book ever created on earth in hardback. I own it. Many of you do too. And you know it's the greatest book ever produced to help you grow food. We're going to have Matt Powers on the show tomorrow. And we're going to, blow your mind this weekend when we release the podcast. The new webinar series is starting now in July, where you don't have to have the book. And even if you have the book, you can walk it through with Matt on how to do it yourself. As easy as spraying beam on your soil. Get the beam, links below. And that's a boom to knowledge. Proper prior planning prevents piss poor performance in the dystopian world where we're all demonetized, censored, and shut down because we tell you the truth. And that's a boom. Stick your foot right up at the man, because you can. Subscribe to the channel, share this with like-minded people, and you are doing your part. And that's a boom. Click on one of the other boxes to gain more knowledge, and we'll see you in the morning at Magnetic Reversal News for another amazing live Q&A. I can't get enough of it. Be safe. We love you.